Images for this show, and there are 70 that were chosen that are on display here. And of those, 41 are Oregon artists, which is, Marilee says, one of the highest percentages of the 12 years that the show has been going. And she will talk to you about the organization of the show, the categories of prizes, which when I looked at them, I didn't know really how they related to each other, so she's really good at making that pretty clear. And some of the things that were fascinating that we talked about were how the judge made the choices that she did to put the show together, and also some of the things that she looked at in each picture that most people might not even realize, but when you start looking at the picture with the judge's insight into it, which Marilee was with her, I think, probably the whole time, and can explain some of the reasons the judge made choices that she did, and it's a very fascinating process. So if you would like to start from the beginning and tell us all about how the show went together.
Oh, where does it start? It starts a year in advance at least. You get a judge, you put together the paperwork, you send out what we call a call of artists, and it goes out on a national basis. And we then start the process of getting the sponsors for the awards. And this year, my goal is $5,000 because that's the minimum for the awards. And getting sponsors, since we're a nonprofit, it depends on the generosity of others. Otherwise, this would not happen. And we've had wonderful sponsors over the years, and thank you so much for sponsors. The awards themselves are given Best of Show, Gold Medal, Silver Medal, Bronze, Award of Distinction, Merit Awards, a Founders Award, and Recognition Awards. And it goes from $1,500 for the best one, 1,000, 700, 500, 300, 200, and 100. So those are the increments of the awards. And when the judge gets all those images, she has to decide what ones get to go into the show. And how she makes her decision is, first of all, is it something I've ever seen before? If it's something that is so unusual, then yes, it's going to go into the show. Take, for instance, the piece right over on the wall with the funny little, looks like candy stuck on it. Never saw that kind of thing before. But those are things that the judge looks for, are those wow factors. Everything that's in here on the walls deserves to be here because it is the best of what it represents. Whether it be pastel, a portrait, an abstract, it is top quality. And they all deserve to be here. Then to make your determination on the awards is very, very difficult because you have to get so detailed and picky. You have to go up and look, is that really the line connected? Is that pigment exactly matching? In order to make those awards and those decisions, it has to be that technical. But she had to make a well-rounded show. All I asked is that it be a well-rounded show, which means portraits, landscapes, animals, pastels, watercolors, oils. So everybody gets a little bit of something. And then for the awards, again, she doesn't want to lay it all on one, or all oils or all watercolors. She wants an interesting show. Because if you don't like abstracts, why would you go to an abstract show? So even though she's an abstract artist herself, and I appreciated that because I got to get in my own show. Because I do abstracts. But it was a very interesting process because it is an education. When she came through to do the awards, she also did what we call a critique, which means she talked about every painting. That's 70 paintings that she critiqued and talked about what was good and what, in her opinion, could have improved it. I've run out. What else would you like?
Well, maybe you could pick one. We went through and looked at several yesterday, and one of the ones was the award station here, which really had, I mean, the way that you were able to explain what she saw in this painting was really fascinating.
The artists, if I ever get a chance to, when they drop their paintings off, I ask them what inspired them, how did they do it, because I want to know, I want the backstory. And the artist said, well, first thing I did was a watercolor in plein air, and I didn't like it. So I marbled over it. I still didn't like it. So then I started doing some lines with ink, and suddenly I saw something. It was a tree. It became more of a tree and more of a tree. And if you see, there is even a figure in there.
And then there was also, I guess it goes into the whole layering ideas, and the judge was really impressed with the fact that when you looked at one piece of the painting, there were things behind it, and so it had a lot of dimensionality to it. You can talk about yours.
I asked for a private critique of my own painting, which is the blue one right here. And she says, first of all, I hate the framework on it. I said, oh gosh, that's what I liked. But that's why she said when you go into a competition, you don't want the frame to be taking anything away from the painting itself. And that's fine. She said, if you like it, you keep it. But that's one of the things that I appreciated, was getting my own critique. And she said, she just thought it was unusual. And she said, I've never seen anything like it before. So I like that. These small paintings are upstairs in our mezzanine. And somebody said, well, why do you put all the small paintings upstairs? Well, if you put the small paintings next to these big ones, they would be overwhelmed. So we like to give everybody a chance to shine. So the best of the show is upstairs. It's one of the little ones. And you'll be very surprised, and I hope pleased, when you see who got best of show. A lot of times, what's interesting about a painting is the story behind the painting. For instance, the painting that's right here, this abstract, this is the journey of her husband's cancer. This is how she put down in art her husband's cancer and how she rose above it. She knows what it means, but it's a very powerful painting. And there's another very powerful painting right here on the wall, this abstract. This painting is about homelessness. How he is an immigrant and he goes from one place to another. And you can actually, at least it speaks to me, you can see his journey. The one next to it is a portrait of one of our artists, Joelle Emery, and it's called Selfie. And the artist loved the close-up, the fact that this is in your face. And then there's another one that I'd like to point out. It's the burning hat. That's got to be a really interesting painting. The artist has talked about how she's been doing a series of curtains and stages. And so she wanted to paint an image that has stuck with her for many years. And she said that she was going home one night and dusk, there was no one around, and in the middle of the intersection was a burning hat. So she said, I wanted to paint that and put it on stage. And if you go to the side, look at it kind of sideways, you will see that she's sewn little beads into the flame. Really. One thing you need to do is pick up a ballot and vote for your favorite of the show. The final award is people's choice. It is your choice. So the ballot box is here. There are pencils, there are ballots. So take a ballot, wander around, and decide which one out of all of these is your favorite. Thank you.
And I believe the balloting goes through the end of May, so if you can't decide tonight, you can always come back and think about it some more.
Thank you.
I just haven't even I thought about that too.
All right, so we're going to be going to Wise Turtle in about 10 minutes. That way you've got some time to actually take a look at some of the art here. And the art walk tour will be going upstairs to the second floor. The elevator is right through these doors. And you can follow us upstairs and meet the artist Marilyn Kent in about 10 minutes. And I will announce it again. Thank you.
Just ran out
The ballot box is right on the other side of that grid. On the other side of the grid. How are you? Good.
No, not always. No, the one before this was just independent.
And what did you
It is.
see
Yeah.
in
When I was
in
there, we
this
came
work?
up with
How do you
like
decide?
and it was just amazing. Everything.
As an appreciator,
Yeah, I would say it's an appreciation.
people comment on the art when they come in then?
Events.
What are the kinds of things that people say?
I'm in charge of it. When you are. You know where you are.
Yeah, right, that's interesting, really, yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Right.
So,
Yeah, Yeah, so that's good. That's good.
I would say lofty diversity.
Did she come back?
Yeah, she was up
There
here
she is.
I got my
in 2005, and I was kind of trying to think of something that I could work in a series with, and I remember that
To get through
as a
that.
photograph,
I found that.
but I had pink hair.
Great. Here we are at the Marilyn Kent exhibit, and the name of it is
Colors of Wonder.
Colors of Wonder, yes. Marilyn has a really interesting background in how she came to do the paintings that she's doing now and what she did before, so please tell us about your history and how you arrived
Okay,
at
well,
what
I
you're doing.
got training as a illustrator in school, and I was trying to do a double major of science, specifically botany, and art. And as part of the program, I was an intern at the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, and I was drawing plants for their herbarium notes. And so what I noticed when I was drawing the plants, from the actual plants, that they were leaving these interesting shadows. And so I started doing kind of minimalist color field pictures using a lot of shadows and jagged edges and that kind of thing. And it didn't really sell very well. And then I moved to Eugene, and I felt like it was a better environment for me because I was more, in Chicago, I was just a small fish in a big pond, basically. But in Eugene, I felt like I had more chances to show and sell my work. So basically what I kind of gravitated towards was animals because I had the, realistic experience of illustrating. And then also I wanted to get my experience of being a color field enthusiast into my work. So I did silhouettes of birds. I just kind of happened upon that. I don't see, silhouettes of turtles also. And then that's kind of one of those are the things that I started working on seriously. And I used color theory to make colors pop and recede. And it's actually, if you look at that cardinal specifically, you get the sense of there's like kind of a purple edge on the back of the animal, and I kind of try for that visual sort of play, which I just think is very interesting. So let's see.
Could you explain
Anyways.
color theory a little bit?
Oh,
Exactly
yeah,
what
color
that
theory
means?
has to do with complementary colors and colors that advance and recede. In other words, if you have a yellow butterfly on a purple background, the yellow is going to become more intensified because the colors are complementary colors. And it's just, I kind of try to use things like that. Like if I want a red to pop, I'll put a green background behind it and that kind of thing. But so recently I've been kind of going back to realism, or I do, like in the cardinal example, I do sort of a simple silhouette, but I throw in some realistic details. And it's time consuming to do the realistic paintings and sort of a nice break to do the silhouettes. And I keep the stuff small, I keep my paintings small just because I work in a small studio space, don't have a lot of room to spread out. And then my theory is that everyone should be able to afford a piece of art. And so basically I sell the pieces for less expensive prices than perhaps other people think feasible, but it's really, I order in bulk and I keep my costs low because I want people to have a piece of original art, because not everyone can afford a $200, $300 big painting or have a place to put it in, but I'm definitely more attuned to apartment dwellers and people with not a lot of space, so that's why I try and price it within the range of affordability.
So do you is art what you do, or do
Pretty
you have
much.
to have a day job?
I have
also,
two
or
day jobs,
2 day jobs? Okay.
and both of them sort of feed into my artwork insofar as I work at the Eugene Public Library part-time, so I have an amazing source material that I can call upon, things I see. Like I saw that cicada in a book, and then I decided I wanted to paint it. Things like that.
Yeah, the cicada behind the door out here is...
That's a pretty amazing creature. It's not, those colors are sort of imagined colors, but in the picture that I found, it was greenish, and it's a Australian variety, I think. I'm not 100% remembering, but it's bugs and things like that, frogs.
How did you develop your original interest in art? Was it from childhood on, or?
Yeah, I was
it-
always interested in art as a child, and interested in animals and biological facts and that kind of thing. And kind of always drawing, doing something.
And Karen, maybe you'd like to talk for a minute about your becoming a gallery in addition to an acupuncturist.
Ask me a question.
Oh, well, you said that you've been showing artwork for years,
Well,
along with
here.
your practice here
Yeah.
for the last
yeah.
2 years.
Yeah,
And how did
yeah.
you come up with that idea?
Well, I'd been on the art walk, and then when I opened my practice in Springfield, I just thought I would like to be on the art walk too, and support the arts and have people walk through my clinic, and it'd be good for me and good for the artist.
And the patients,
And the patients, of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they always enjoy it.
She also told me beforehand that the patients tend to pay more attention to the art after.
After session.
When they're calm, after
Oh,
yeah.
their acupuncture, then they have a much greater.
Yeah, they get
Appreciation
up
of
and
the
they're
art.
all slowed down, and they actually will look around. And, yeah, once in a while I actually sell something.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
great. All
Yeah.
right. Does anyone have any questions? We ready to move on then?
Appreciate your prices that are reasonable, those of us that like to buy art.
I know, it's amazing.
I want you to have it.
That's right.
I like the little frog.
I do love like the
like the octopus.
The little frog.
things that I can do because I have a weird disease. You have to be very careful.
I understand, I understand. Well, I'm glad you keep moving, it's good.
It is. And Pilates.
This woman is very interested in Melissa's.
He's taking a nap. Yeah. I've been in front of animals for a long time.
Because I thought you'd be clear by now. And so I skipped over a little slow. Yeah, so everyone's got a big show, I knew it. And then you just see your own. I mean, I can always see it.
Oh, I know how. Are we ready? We're ready. All right, welcome to the Springfield City Hall Art Gallery, and tonight we are going to speak with Richard Jelinek, who has done all of these dozens of animal photos and many more on his various trips around the world. He tells me that he took a 37-day trip around the world at one point, 6 continents, and photographed animals all the way along. This trip included, I believe there was that trip going across the Trans-Siberian Railroad through Russia.
Yeah, Trans-Siberian Express across Russia.
Yeah,
And
so
then
it's not your average trip to London and Paris, I guess. He also has a background. He was an elementary school teacher, primarily in Lakeland, Florida, and retired from that, and then had more time, I guess, to do his animal photography. Why don't you tell us about how you decided to get into that and more about what you've done?
Well, I always enjoy God's creatures and the wildlife that the world offers, and I enjoy I enjoyed being a teacher, being able to take time off during the summer, do my travels. Animals fascinate me because you can be in front of the same animal for you know, 5 or 6 times, and you might only get an opportunity to get one good picture. Or might spend as much time as 3 hours in front of an animal. It's not like a human being or whatever. You can say, well, pose this way or pose that way. It's just a matter of patience and luck for the most part in getting great pictures.
Can you talk about some of the trips that you've taken and what?
Sure. Some of these pictures are from the wild in Kenya and Tanzania. Like this instant, this one picture of the elephants here with the young. We actually had to back away from the elephants at one point because they started to challenge us by putting out their ears and by stopping their feet and by trumpeting. We didn't feel like butting our heads with the elephants that day, so we decided to slowly back away and to get out of there and move on to another place. One thing I was surprised about in Africa is that I knew they had the gazelles and different animals like that, but I was surprised to notice that they had what I would call a regular herd of deer. And at one point we had to stop and wait till they decided to leave the road before we moved on. Also the coexistence between zebras and wildebeest. One of them has a keen sense of smell for water, and they lead both the herds to the water, and one has a keen sense of danger and can alert the herds that there's lions around. One of the orangutan there, reason I enabled him people watcher because he actually came up front, is at a zoo, but he actually came up front and posed like that for a good 15-20 minutes while people were taking his picture. And so he actually was watching everybody watching him.
Very cute.
And photographing him. A lot of it's just plain what I call luck. You know, you're at the right place at the right time to get that good picture, but it's also, like I said, a lot of patience that you need to have. And I'm just amazed at animals.
In terms of animals in the United States, where have you traveled and what have you seen here in the States?
Well, I've been to primarily all 50 states. I like to try to find wild animal parks or exhibits or whatever that have a more of a natural habitat. I had one picture up there of a coyote that was actually taken at the outer edge of the Grand Canyon. And I just happened to be driving along and I saw the coyote there. And I took a quick snapshot of him. There's one picture of the leopard in a tree there that was actually taken in Ngorongoro Crater in Tanzania. And it was a rough trip to get there. It took about 5 hours by Jeep, and we were hitting our head on the top of the Jeep about every 2 or 3 seconds because you had to go up the crater and then down inside it. And once you were inside it, there was a salton sea. Then there was a freshwater lake, and you had all your grasses and trees and different wildlife there. And he just was taking an afternoon nap. He didn't decide, seemed to mind that there was about 4 or 5 Jeeps surrounding his tree with people taking pictures of it. Got pictures of one leopard there that was actually taken here in Oregon, and I was about 6 inches away from his cage, and it took a flying leap at me throat level and hit the cage and then fell back in, and the cage actually hit my face. So I was glad that the fence was there. And it also gave me a reminder that they are still wild animals. Doesn't matter how long they've been in captivity or whatever, but they're still wild. But in Africa, we had to be careful not to venture away from our Jeep because a couple months before, one guy got eaten by a lion because he ventured too far away from the Jeep and wasn't watching that the lionesses were surrounding him. So we had to be careful of that. But there's one of the pictures down there is of a lion cub sitting on a rock, it's actually Lion's Pride Rock, where The Lion King was filmed. And above the bigger rock was this lioness who I assume was his mother. But he's paying real close attention to us, that we weren't going to harm the cub at all. But really not quite sure what else to say. Some of the wolf pictures I have, they're to me they're amazing itself. I mean, I had a dog that was part wolf, and I guess that what got me interested in wolves. But they're magnificent creatures, and even their dynamics of their family and how they coexist with nature.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Who titled the work? Did you do the
I did.
drama thing?
Yeah.
Very lovely. Very, very funny.
Yeah, one picture down there of a red wolf, and it looks like he's smiling.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, got any more grandmas?
Very good.
But even that was a test of patience because the wolf did not want to cooperate with getting his picture taken. Matter of fact, very few of these animals wanted to cooperate. So if any of you are interested in photographing wildlife, have a lot of patience, because that's what it takes to get good pictures. Any other questions?
Do you show your work frequently, or?
Actually, this is the first showing that I have of my work. I have had my pictures up on this one website, but it's a matter of getting the website out there so people can go look at the pictures and maybe order prints.
Congratulations for your first show.
Thank you. It's one there of a baby Iberian lynx that was just, I mean, I've taken a lot of different pictures like that, but that one picture just happened to catch the right coloration of the background with the subject matter to make it, the subject matter stand out. But I find that I only actually keep maybe about 5% of the pictures that I take, which from my understanding, professional photographers, that's about what their rate is too. So I guess I fall somewhere in there.
Were you self-taught as a photographer, or how did you develop your skill as a photographer?
I don't know, it's natural, I guess. I mean, I've been actually photographing things for about 45 years, I guess. Never really got to photographing my family when the kids were growing up, but I photographed having them. So, oh, that's either they were there, here or there. I'm not really sure if I have anything else to say.
Okay, thank you. And we will turn the stage back to David Helfand with his wonderful harp playing.
This woman is very interested in Melissa.
Story of the He protects it.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the final stop on tonight's Art Walk. I'm Mayor Lucy Dennis, and I'm happy to host this Art Walk tonight, and want to begin by giving a deep appreciation to Out on the Limb Gallery for hosting the Art Walk tonight. Could we give them a round of applause? Wonderful, really a wonderful space. And I also want to thank Eugene Magazine, who's hosted tonight's Art Walk, and without that sponsorship, we would not be able to do this work. They're supporting Lane Arts Council. So where is, oh, there, you're right here. Yeah.
Hello everybody, my name is Megan. I'm the Director of Operations at Eugene Magazine. We are Lane County's quarterly lifestyle magazine, and we focus on everything that makes Eugene one of the most livable cities in America. We are so proud to be a sponsor, and this is just what Eugene is all about and what makes it so unique. And we also have complimentary current issues of our spring issue. It's the kid issue. It's all about family and what to go do with your kiddos this spring. And I also wanted to let you guys know our fall issue is going to be the art issue. So please look for that on newsstands and around town. We are so thrilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, some of you may know that I was a former development director at Shelter Care, and so I have this deep appreciation for all the businesses and all of the artists and all of the people in our community who step up and make that important nonprofit work possible. So I know there are a lot of you in the crowd, and I thank you, and I thank Eugene Magazine. And that actually brings me to today's artist, Mike Leckie, who I also know because he has donated to Shelter Care for the art benefit for several years, and so it's a wonderful connection that he supports lots of good work in the world, as well as creating beautiful work. And so I'm going to let Mike talk a little bit about his artwork.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Well, oh, yeah, here. I actually live a little way out of town, and because of that, I don't even come in. I mean, looking at all these people looking at me, this is a little unusual, you guys. But I've lived on the same piece of property for 36 years. I've got a wonderful studio out there, and Eugene has been a great place for me, because what it's done is it's allowed me to live in the woods and make art. I have done that for 36 years, and I've got a lot of fans now. And it's important to give stuff away. I do donate to Shelter Care every year, and I donate to several other things too. I think that's one of the important things, that if I have something of value, and I see that people are on the street, then it's up to me to donate that thing of value so that those people can be helped. And I think that is really important. We should talk a little about the bas-relief work, because this is harder to do than people think. It's a little bit of a combination between sculpture and painting. Is this microphone doing funny things? Okay. To do, well, let me see, what do we got here? This is Ashton. I worked from a photograph that Ashton provided for me. When I get these famous people to model, I say, you tell me what are your favorite photographs. You know, because of course people have been taking pictures of these famous athletes, so there are a lot of professional photographs. I ask them, which are your favorites? Because if you are critical of your form, you will give me the ones that you think represent your form the best. And so I ask them to give me their most favorite photographs. Then we start to work. But I say, this is a little harder to do than people think, because in painting, the perspective, you know, putting distance and atmospheric perspective, and even a hand coming towards you, is bigger than my face in a painting.
Yeah.
You have to do that with bas-relief, because it's about half painting. So it's not a straight up sculpture where I simply make a figure and keep everything exactly where it's supposed to be. These are a little more complicated than that, in that they're only about half sculpture. The other half is pretty much painting. Well, if you look carefully, this leg and this foot are actually a little big. Well, that's so when you look at the piece, it appears to be correct to you. You know, your understanding of the piece, I need to give that to you. I need to help you understand what I'm doing. And so there's a little exaggeration in places on one of these, where I cannot do that on a bronze figure, because you would see it immediately as something wrong. But in these pieces, because they're about half sculpture and half painting, I really do need to exaggerate parts, and I need to really give you a perspective so that you understand the figure. And I say that's a little harder to do than people think. Yeah. I also have these really fascinating cast iron pieces here. I made them a few years ago, and there's a series of pieces. There's another really nice one on the tall table. They're very unusual because nobody works in cast iron. And the images that I have here are really classical. They're classical bowls, a little covered jar. This one is really fascinating. You can pick them up and look at them after we talk too. They're a little bit expensive, but they're also not mass-produced. Where these are poured in a mold, they are a poured plaster item, and I can reproduce them fairly easily. So the price is low, because I can reproduce them easily. These are not easily reproduced, and I may not ever make any more of them. So the price is pretty high on these pieces. But that also is, this is the market. Whether or not they're reproducible, whether or not they're really something out of my mind that is only going to happen one time. So if somebody loves it, they're going to have to buy it, because it's not going to happen again.
Can you just explain that process? What is the mold made out of?
I would do this first in clay, and it looks kind of funny when I first do it because the raised letters in the background are a whole rubber sheet that is made with the Rubber Stamp Company in the Bay Area, so that I can have the raised letters. And I have to tell them it has to be right read, because otherwise it would be backward for the rubber stamp. But they give me this whole background with these lines, the letters. That's one big rubber stamp. Then this is a wooden frame, and there's a wooden background behind, backboard behind the rubber. And then I sculpt the figure in clay over the top of that. So this is quite the collage when you look at it before I do the rubber mold, because there is the rubber background, the clay figure, and the wooden frame. When I make a rubber mold of all of that, then it all turns into one piece when I start pouring these. And these are poured in Hydrostone, which is a space-age plaster. And the plaster it's about half cement, so that it is very, very tight and very hard. If you twang one of them, don't do it. But it sounds like a fired piece of ceramics. And it's a cold poured plaster item. So this is a space-age plaster. But when I start pouring them, there is a wire mesh inside of there to act as rebar. And I have some bolts with the heads on the inside of the wire mesh, so they stick out the back, so I can wrap a little hanging wire for like a picture wire on the back of them. But I kind of made up the process, I have to tell you. I wanted work that I could take to the Olympic trials. And I have now done 3 Olympic trials with these works, and they keep getting, I don't want to say better. The first, these are some from the first group, and this is one from the first group in 2008. This one, it says 2009, but I have to admit I changed the letters because we had a world championship in 2009 after the Olympic trials. So I only changed the letters on the bottom. It's still the same piece. But those are that was the first time I did them. The second time I did Ashton and Amy and Sally. And these are much more realistic than the first ones. The first ones are almost iconic. The second ones are much more realistic, and they're really portraits of the individuals. And this last one, the only one I did was Andy, but this is Andrew Weeding. And Andy's our local hero, 2-time Olympian. The first time was 800, the second Olympics was 1500. And Andy's great. And he has not retired. Where Ashton retired, Andy has not retired. He's still running, and he's having a really good season. Yeah, he's 28. He's getting to the place where he's going to have to retire. His first Olympics were at 20. And by the way, when I get to use these remarkable athletes as models, they are the nicest people you have ever met. And I tell people, I think part of that is, if you're not a coachable athlete, the coaches don't want to mess with you. You'll never be a world champion. Well, that coachability is what turns them into extremely nice people, because they respect others. So they don't look at me like, who is that old guy? They look at me like, you have an ability that I respect, and I want to work with you. Believe me, that's nice. That is very nice. And they are all so sweet. Andy's one of the nicest men I've ever met. So is Ashton. I don't know what Ashton's going to do with his life now that he's retired, but he'll be successful because he's the kind of person who is paying attention to the world. Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions?
Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious, why you decided you had a simplified icon, when you start with the iconic pieces, they're simplified, and the frame is simplified, which to me has these cleanliness that's draws your eye right in. And these figures are more captivating because they have such genuine expression to them, but the thing is, your frames are kind of like the frames that people hang in their families on their wall, like, I'm proud of my kid, he got first place, so these frames don't honor it the same way that this original, like, simplicity does, and I'm like, why did you not keep that original frame?
Well, they have changed through the years because the one hanging in the window doesn't have any frame at all.
This is your most recent one.
No, that's from '89.
Sometimes going backwards is kind of...
Yeah, 1989.
These expressions though, and I love how you just faded this one out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Amy was the important person, and I wanted to show her running. So there are other runners, but they don't really count. Yeah, I think I pulled it out too far. There, okay, still on.
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions?
Was that 1989 one of the ones you got to recover recently?
No, there was a discus thrower that went with that one.
Okay.
And yes, the discus thrower is the one that was recovered, and it was, what, 2 years ago or something?
Yeah.
It was kind of funny, you guys, because they called me and they said that they had found this piece, and the police wanted to come and give it to me.
Wow.
Well, that's nice. I mean, it's okay. I don't dislike that. I kind of knew what had happened to the piece, and I was very nice about not saying what I knew had happened to the piece because I knew somebody had kind of filched it. When they came, it wasn't about me and my art. You guys, 3 TV stations and the Register Guard were all in my studio with the police handing it back to me because it was the police handing something back to somebody. Anything to do with me at all.
It's hard to get credit.
Yeah. So yes, I did get a piece back, which was nice. But it was a great story for the police. And I didn't dislike it. They gave me the piece. It's okay.
Other questions?
So how big of bas relief can you make? Can you do like a frieze on
Sure.
a building?
Sure. I have a studio I've been working with in Italy, and I've actually taken a class of students from here to Italy and taught marble carving in Italy. And all I have to do is hand them one of these, and they would produce it 10 feet tall for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I can do that in a second. I'd hand it to the studio in Italy.
So for our new city hall, are they talking to you?
Except I probably have to donate them.
That's so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
That is.
Any other questions, comments?
Anybody got anything else?
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the final stop on tonight's Art Walk. I forgot to mention this is a Jane's Walk, so the city has about 5 of these Jane's Walks. Where is my buddy? There he is. Eric, who's got a little list of the Jane's Walks, and this is named after Jane Jacobs, who is an urban sociologist, talked a lot about how to create community in an urban area. So this was the first of several Jane's Walks. So thank you all very much for joining us on this wonderful evening, and buy some art. Enjoy the art, support our artists. Thank you so much. And, sorry.
Next art walk is June 2nd.
And the next art walk is June 2nd, first Friday of June. So, and thank you, Lane Arts Council, for making this happen.
Thank you.
The musicians at each of our locations and the musician here, and he would welcome tips. So if you like his music, please support the musicians in our community as well. Thanks so much.
So what else is going to be?